Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati. 2025 has wound down, and what a year it has been as 2026 builds up from cutting-edge space technology, historic gatherings, strategic military action, diplomatic leadership, game-changing reforms, and historic sporting triumphs. India has repeatedly made the headlines across the world stage in 2025. So now we rewind 21 iconic moments, the victories and the milestones that made the year 2025 unforgettable in the best possible way. Pictures, they say, speak 1,000 words. Here's a photograph, ladies and gentlemen, on your screens. This is ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, successfully completing the docking of 2 SpaceX satellites, making India the 4th country in the world to master space docking. So India has joined this yet another elite space club, which only has the US, Russia and China as the other members. Rigorous maneuvers were done, trials were completed, and the satellites achieved autonomous docking on the 16th of January, demonstrating power transfer capabilities and paving the path for future missions like the Gaganyaan and the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, which is India's space station. What a photograph. Those are 2 satellites connecting to each other and being able to connect their ports and do power transfer the first time. Only 3 other countries in the world can do this. This happened on 16th January. Now we've picked a lighter one in chronological order because just a few days later, as Republic Day rolled on, have a look at this. This is the Coldplay concert that took place in Ahmedabad. It broke Guinness World Records. 223,000, that's 2.2 lakh people attended this concert in this cricket stadium in Ahmedabad. Have a look at this. 641 crore rupees was generated in economic impact in Ahmedabad. What a sight. And to the many people who were lucky to be there, would have been an epic moment. Happened 25th, 26th January 2025. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to the number of people who came, the amount of money generated, okay, it's telling you that India's potential to host large-scale mega events does exist. We're getting there, chipping away. Let's look at the next photograph. Now, that's Nirmala Sitharaman, you all recognize her. That's the red case in which there is no longer a file but a touchpad. A tax rebate was announced for 12 lakh, up to 12 lakh rupees in the union budget. You all remember it? Well, that's the iconic photograph reminding you that something different happened this day. Something for all of us, not just Nirmala Sitharaman as finance minister, to smile about in this photograph, bringing an economic moment into an iconic photograph. But speaking of iconic photographs, the next one on your screens perhaps is the most iconic one of the entire year. We're going sort of in chronological order. This happened January, February 2025. The Maha Kumbh Mela. This special one comes after every 144 years. This is Prayagraj in India's northern state of Uttar Pradesh. 660 million people came, about 8-9% of the world's population visited this one spot in those 4-5 weeks for their sacred bathing rituals. Have a look at this. What a sight to behold. And many of the images that came, what a sight to behold they certainly were. The historic Sangam, 4,000 hectares of accommodation was created, 150,000 tents, parking facilities covering an area of 1,800 hectares, 360 special trains, 83 projects to provide water, cleanliness, sanitation facilities. In creating this mega city of people coming and going. What a sight. Let's have a look at another iconic moment, and this is in a complete different vein. This is 26/11 terror attack mastermind Tahawwur Rana. He was taken into NIA, National Investigative Agency custody after being extradited to India from the United States in April. This is the first photograph released by the NIA of Rana in handcuffs on Indian soil. This took 17 long years to achieve. Remember, more than 160 people were killed in the deadliest terror attacks in India's history. And that man in handcuffs on Indian soil, in Indian custody, after a 17-year legal battle, which we won in the United States. Iconic photo. And speaking of chronological order, I don't think this is forgettable. These are the iconic photos as India struck in a decisive response to terror. Take a look at what happened. These are the early hours of the 7th of May. To the left is the moment India carried out precision strikes on Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur in Pakistan. To the right is the aftermath of those strikes. This was done for justice for the victims of the Pahalgam terror attack, 26 of whom were killed, civilians who were killed. Now, this was the headquarters of one of the offshoots of the JEM that had initially claimed responsibility for the attack. I don't think these visuals will be forgotten by many people in a lifetime. Let's have a look at the next image on your screens. Okay. In the context of the Operation Sindoor strikes and the aftermath, I think this is something also emblazoned to everybody's memory in 2025. This was a briefing that took place after Operation Sindoor. You can see Colonel Sophia Qureshi of the Indian Army on the left and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh of the Indian Air Force on the right, who came out and announced Operation Sindoor. Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri sitting in the middle. Now, they conveyed India's position, India's response to the Pahalgam terror attack, detailing the precision strikes on these 9 terror camps across Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. For the first time, 2 senior women officers of the Indian Armed Forces led the national briefing after a major operation. And I think these 2 women are now well recognized and have become an inspiration to a lot of other women, but also became the face of India's briefings, not only here within Indians and Bharatvasis, but to everyone in the world. This brings us to the 8th photograph. This is a change of guard in the world chess order, you have to say. On the 1st of June, that was India's D. Gugesh taking down Magnus Carlsen with his first ever classical victory over the world number 1. The win was not just a personal milestone for the teenage grandmaster, but a statement that India's chess revolution is back at the biggest global stage. Gukesh there on the 1st of June in this iconic photograph taking down Magnus Carlsen, the number 1 player. This was the round 6 of the Norway Chess Championship of 2025. Now, here's the 9th photograph on your screens. And what a sight to behold. It almost looks like a painting. It's an engineering marvel. It took over a decade to complete this. The Chenab Railway Bridge is the world's highest railway arch bridge. Inaugurated on the 6th of June, it's 359 meters above the Chenab River as it traverses the river valley. It connects the Kashmir Valley to India's national rail network. It's reduced travel time, logistical connectivity has improved, and it's been built to withstand extreme seismic activity, winter conditions, snow, hail. It's a feat of engineering, but also of strategic and economic milestones being achieved. Have a look at this, and that's a train, the first train, passenger train that crossed the bridge. What a sight. And that brings us to the 10th photograph capturing an iconic moment of 2025. Have a look at this. Well, that's an image from space. That's ISRO's Gagannaut, the Axiom Mission Force Specialist Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, as seen on board the International Space Station. The photograph is capturing not only his elation, you can see the Indian flag behind him, but India's human spaceflight ambitions that are taking place. It's a key step towards India's spaceflight program. He is one of the Gaganauts in training. He's now been in orbit. And of course, we also are planning our own Gaganyaan mission with launches being planned hopefully in the coming years. All the technologies like docking and re-entry are being tested by ISRO right now. He did scientific research in microgravity, long-term effects of various other phenomena in space, and is giving us a clear roadmap of India's space ambitions and of course most importantly our own space station, an Indian space station. Shubhanshu Shukla there, photographed on the 28th of June 2025 in space on the ISS. The 11th photograph on your screens, this is a diplomatic moment. It's telling you about India's impact in the neighborhood first policy mechanism. This is Prime Minister Modi getting a ceremonial welcome during the inauguration of the new office complex of the Maldives National Defence Force in the capital Male. On the building is a massive portrait of the Prime Minister. It's telling you something of significance, because remember, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, diplomatic tensions with Maldives had become very unpleasant in 2024. And in 2025, this happened. I think this photograph tells you about that transformation in its own essence. This is the capital of the Maldives, July 2025, 25th July. The 12th photo, next photo on your screens. This is an interesting one because, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big push towards clean energy. It's India's first 1 megawatt green hydrogen plant, inaugurated by Union Minister Sarbanand Sonowal. It's at the Deen Dayal Port Authority in Kandla. The facility will generate approximately 140 tons of green hydrogen and is expected to supply maritime decarbonization efforts under India's Maritime Vision 2030. This project is the first module of a larger 10 megawatt project, and it was completed in just 4 months, setting a benchmark for green hydrogen deployment in India's port sector. Iconic. That's the building on the top and the inauguration happening below it. That was Kandla in, again, July 2025. Now, here's another image on your screens, number 13. Now, I'm assuming most of you have seen this one. This is going to be unforgettable. It's one frame that speaks volumes of global diplomacy. Prime Minister Modi seen interacting with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. This was at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin. They were seen talking, laughing, message being sent to the world community about how India is going to conduct its relations with the world without fear of flavor. This is a multipolar world order in action on your screens. That happened in September 2025. Now, let's put the next image on our screens, because at that summit, this was a photograph taken inside the limousine. What a moment. 1st September. Prime Minister Modi sharing a 45-minute ride with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the sidelines of the same Tianjin summit. Unscripted interaction. I'm sure they discussed many interesting things. I'm sure frank discussions took place on energy, Ukraine, defense, regional security, many things. Who knows? But immediately afterwards, just a couple of months later, Vladimir Putin, of course, was in India having strategic level conversations. But surely a snapshot moment that took place in this car ride that happened in Beijing. And here's a very important one as an image, the 15th one on your screens. This was on the 2nd of September. India achieved a historic milestone in its semiconductor journey for the first time. This is the first set of made in India semiconductor chips from a pilot production line. It is being presented to Prime Minister Modi by Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. 20 chips, which you can see on the left side of your screen, designed and manufactured by Indian students at the Semiconductor lab. The presentation took place during Semicon India 2025, highlighting Bharat's rapid transition from approvals to production in just 3.5 years, from where we dreamed of making semiconductor chips which are used in everything. Every single device that you are watching this video on has semiconductor chips inside it. We weren't making any of them. Well, now we are designing them and making them. Have a look at that. Milestone achievements. The 16th image on your screen, and this is an important one because this is immediately after a major economic announcement with long-term impacts. On the 21st of September, Prime Minister Modi unveiled next generation GST reforms. The reforms came into effect on the 22nd and resulted in projected savings of 2.5 lakh crore rupees for Indian households over the course of a single year. Combined with the income tax rebate for individuals up to 12 lakhs, the Prime Minister called the reforms a double bonanza, and that's what shopping looked like once they kicked in. That's a bazaar in India during the GST Bachat Utsav, telling a microcosm, anecdotal story of what took place all over the country for many, if not most of us. Now, here's another image on your screens. 17th on our list, this is the President of India taking a sortie in a Rafale aircraft at Air Force Station Ambala on the 29th of October 2025. She flew for approximately 30 minutes at a height of 50,000 feet and a speed of about 700 kmph, covering 200 kilometers. President Murmu is the first President of India to have taken a sortie in 2 fighter aircrafts of the Indian Air Force. She earlier was flying a Sukhoi 30 MKI. But the image not only talking to you about a woman president of this country who's from an Adivasi background, telling you about her journey, but also telling you about India's defense journey, India's Air Force journey, where all these 36 Rafale which were procured are now operating with the Indian Air Force, and more are being considered. Now, 18th, the next photograph on your screens. How can you forget this? The Indian women's cricket team lifted the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup for the first time. A dominant 52-run victory over South Africa in Navi Mumbai capped years of hard work and marked a transformative moment for women's sports in India. Beyond the trophy, the win marks the impact that it had on India's imagination, hopefully inspiring a new generation of athletes across the board. Well done. Many of these names, of course, have become household features in India. You can see that women's matches in many sports, more people are showing up, spectators are watching, they are being now telecast live. You can see something has changed. And these girls and women on your screens drove that change. Well done. What a proud moment. 2nd November 2025, that iconic photograph was captured. Here's another one. This was on the 25th November rather. Deep spiritual, cultural significance in India. You can see Prime Minister Modi hoisting the saffron flag atop the Shikhar, which is the fulcrum of the Sanctum Sanctorum, the highest point of the Ram Mandir in Ayodhya. This is happened under something called the Dhwaj Arohan Utsav, which is the flag hoisting ceremony. It's a 10-foot high and 20-foot long flag bearing the image of a radiant sun with an Om inscribed within it, with the image of a Kovidara tree. Now, the ceremony marked an important ritual milestone for the temple. It completed the construction of the temple. Another image from 2025. Now, let's get back to image number 20 now, the next one on your screens, back to ISRO, because for the 20th iconic moment, we circle back to where we started, the Indian Space Research Organization. ISRO capped 2025 with its heaviest ever liftoff. It launched the LVM-3 rocket carrying its heaviest ever satellite, the Bluebird Block 2, on the 24th of December. That's not all. the 6.1-ton US communications satellite was successfully injected into a near perfect circular orbit, marking another clean chapter for India's space agency. What's interesting is that the mission has extended LVM-3's unbroken streak to 9 consecutive successful launches, sparking confidence for the Gaganyaan human space program of ISRO. And last but not least, number 21 on your screens. On the 28th of December, President Murmu undertook a submarine sortie on the western seaboard. The President, there you can see on the Indian Navy's indigenously built Kalavari class submarine, the INS Vakshir, at the Karwar Naval Base in Karnataka. During the short sortie, she observed the operational conditions inside the submarine, interacted with the personnel. First time a president has gone on a submarine. First time she went on a submarine, only the second time a president has ever undertaken an experience like this. But again, not only talking about her journey, but talking about the journey of the Indian Navy. Now, there are of course hundreds, if not thousands of moments. You will have your favorites. These are the ones we've sort of put together as a encapsulation to the year 2025. Thanks for watching.